Well, hi. Welcome. Happy Friday. My name is Melissa Maker from Clean My Space. I'm so glad to have you here with me today. And I'm also really glad to have our special guest here today, who I'll introduce in a sec. But I want to welcome you to this live stream. The purpose of me doing this is to bring in special guests every week who I think can help the Clean My Space audience in some way, shape, or form find ways to live more efficiently and effectively and cleaner and happier. So this week, as every week, I am more than happy to answer your cleaning questions. I suppose you could call it an AMA, Ask Me Anything. Try to keep it off the personal side and keep it more on the cleaning side. But then specifically this week, we are very lucky because one of my good friends from who I am so grateful that I met through this crazy online world is joining us today. And his name is Darryl Cheng. Chad's going to bring him in a sec. There you are. Hello.
Hey,
And
everyone. Hey, Melissa.
hey, Darryl. And Darryl and I have collaborated over the years several times in different formats on YouTube and Instagram and just in person. Darryl is the internet's favorite plant parent, and his account is called Houseplant Journal. He is just about to drop his second book called The New Plant Parent. You can show it off.
First book is New Plant Parent.
Oh, sorry. That's the one I have.
The second one is here called
The New Plant Collector.
The New Plant Collector.
Yes. And Darryl, what's really neat about Darryl is when we first met, he was still in his vocation. He is an engineer by trade. And then he had an interesting transition. I can let him explain it and kind of explain himself a little bit more and introduce himself to you and let you know what he's up to. And then we're going to open it up to questions. I just took a screenshot with my phone of your Instagram account. And the questions can either be directed to me, cleaning questions, organizing questions, or to Darryl, plant-specific questions. So if you consider yourself not a green thumb, or if you are a plant enthusiast and you have specific questions about plants, about watering, about soil, light, temperature, potting, Darryl knows it all. And he makes it surprisingly simple and easy. I will also say, if you want to follow Darryl, you can find him on Instagram at Houseplant Journal. He can also let you know where else you can find him. And right now on Instagram, an impressive 623,000 followers. Okay, Darryl, over to you. Tell us about
it. Thanks, Melissa. So as you were mentioning, when I started Houseplant Journal, it was very redundantly just a journal for my houseplants. And because when I first got them, I was living at home with my mom, and she said, can you decorate the house with plants? But one thing, you need to figure out how to take care of them, because I'm quote unquote bad with plants. And this was kind of confusing to me because my mom was great at outdoor gardening, but for some reason she felt really, I guess, intimidated or just like always disappointed by indoor plants. So I said, okay, well, I'll just buy a bunch of plants and just Google how to try to figure out how to take care of them. But interestingly, when I went online, I just kind of felt like this goes back to the engineering in me. I read a lot of plant care advice that just seemed really vague and not very precise.
Bright and direct light,
like medium light. What does that even mean? And realizing that there were certain areas of houseplant care that just weren't very well standardized. And yet people expected you to understand it when they said bright and direct light.
Yeah.
But what eventually people fell back onto was that if the plants did well, you had a green thumb. If the plants did poorly, you had, so-called black thumb, or you kill everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we just like fast forward right to this point now, which is if I was just to summarize, like, what does it really mean to have a green thumb? Like, just think of all the people who seem to have really, lush looking plants all the time. They are the people with the biggest windows and who remember how to water. That's it.
I'll never forget when we were at the garden center picking out some plants for the house that we're in now, you said to me, when plants are at a nursery or a gardening center, it's like they're Olympians and they're trained. It's like they're training for the Olympics. They're in peak shape because they get
Mhm.
the perfect light, the
Perfect light.
perfect food, the perfect water. All the conditions are perfect. And then you take them out of their perfect habitats and get upset when you see a brown or a yellow leaf. And it's like, well, what did you say? Starve beautifully? Is
Yeah,
that the
it
term?
was sort of the idea that well, this I take it to the more extreme example, which is that when interior designers say that a plant thrives in low light, what they really mean is that such a plant dies slower and less noticeably than other plants. That's the
Right.
worst of it, right? Now, the starve gracefully part is a bit more elevated to say that, well, okay, we're not going to really torture this plant, but we do want the plants that can look the best even if the conditions aren't really great. And I don't know
Mhm.
if you can see behind me, but I'm going to turn my camera, see if I can turn my camera a little bit.
Oh, look how smooth that is.
See this
That
snake plant here,
snake
it's been
plant.
here since I moved to this house, which is almost 3 years ago.
Yep.
And you can see that, well, from far away it looks okay, but I know it's not doing great. But it's also because it's a snake plant, and I know that as a snake plant I could
You can
water it
torture
once
them a
every
bit.
2 months and
Yeah.
it'll still look fine.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you look behind me on this side, I have a philodendron, and this big one here is a monstera. These guys are what are considered like more high maintenance. So these guys normally are right in front of my window, and I'm checking up on them every couple of days, watering them roughly once a week, kind of thing. Whereas that snake plant, it's kind of sitting there and just
Starving
kind of
gracefully.
exists. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to exist. Cool. So, here's what we'll do, Darryl. When's your book coming out?
So the second book, this new plant collector, is coming out March 19th. March
And okay, just
19th.
give us like a quick synopsis of the book because I was saying to you just before we came on, Darryl was at my book launch all those years ago as a nice supportive friend, and I will be at his book launch wherever that party is. I'm going to find some fancy dress to wear, maybe with a plant theme, but I will be there. We will be
Mhm.
there celebrating your book. So tell us quickly what we can expect in your second book.
So in the second book, it's sort of, a perfect continuation of the first. So the first book is, getting into the basics, and including also just getting into having the basic plants, right?
Mhm.
But clearly, when you realize that there are thousands of plants you could possibly grow indoors,
And you become a
then
crazy plant
and
person.
become a crazy plant
Yeah.
person, you kind of get that it's the Pokemon adage, you got to collect them all, right?
Yeah.
And so with New Plant Collector, it is kind of introducing you to the different types of collections you can possibly have. And I liken it to the way that you can like different styles of music, right? So I consider the succulents as a different style, the philodendron, aeroids, a different style. Begonias, it's a whole another style.
Mhm.
It's when you look at it that way, then you're not limited to just a single type, but you can then explore lots of different genus and groups of plants.
Yes. And I know we've had some fun over the years, swapping little plants, cuttings, and whenever we've gotten excited about a certain plant. And I know you have like way more intense plant friends than me, but yeah, I owe all of my plant love to you because before you, I too was that person that would kill plants, and you really instilled confidence in this house over here, teaching us how to take care of our plants. Although I will say our bird of paradise is pretty much on its last leaf, last leg,
Mm,
last leaf. Get it?
yeah, yeah.
Last feather. Anyway, yeah, I tried. So yeah, I think we might have to figure something new out. Oh my gosh. Okay. So the questions are going nuts. Darryl,
Yeah.
so I'm going to start. And then when I finish my question, you can pick up yours. Okay. So my first question comes from Joey Ballou. The question is about cleaning the inside of the oven door. Oh, such an annoying place to clean. I've tried your suggested methods, scrub with baking soda and BKF barkeeper's friend, but it can't seem to get rid of all the brown grease splatter / dots. Any suggestions? Yeah. Okay. So two suggestions. The first thing you can do is get some Dawn Power Wash, and I want you to be careful around the seams of the glass because sometimes you can get a bit of that dripping and it's just so unattractive. So try to avoid getting anything liquid around the seams where the glass meets the metal on the door. Okay, so that's number one. Spray on that Dawn Power Wash, give it a couple minutes, and then I want you to get like the back of an old credit card or scraper, SKRAPR. Roni, if we have a link, maybe you can drop that in the notes. Oh my God, comments. Wow, it's like, what social media platform am I on? Where are the notes? Anyway, Ronit, who helps us run these productions, she will try to get links up for you in the description box or in the comments. Okay, so scraper, and then you can give Dawn Power Wash a minute to sort of penetrate the grease, and then you can start to gently scrape. If that doesn't work, the next thing you can try is superfine steel wool. So when you're buying the steel wool, you're going to look for the 0000 category of steel wool, 4 zeros, superfine. You're going to add a bit of water to the surface. That way you're going to prevent scratching, and then you're going to just work in a circular motion. Normally when we talk about cleaning, we love using the S pattern, but when we are doing something like this, we can work in small circular sections, and that should help get rid of the mess. Then you're going to rinse it and blot it up instead of flushing it with water, because again, we want to avoid that water getting into the seam where the glass meets the metal. Okay, Joey, I hope that helps. Good luck.
All right, my first question is from Deepa Ramakrishnan. It says, "Hi, Melissa and Darryl. I live in the UK. When is a good time to prune outdoor rose plants?" And a separate question. Also, please help with maintenance tips for orchids in glass vases. Thanks. Okay, so the first part of the outdoor roses, which again is not quite in my wheelhouse, it's outdoor gardening, but the principles
in your
are
real garage.
It's still kind of the similar, the similar principles, and that is for rose plants. When they're outdoors in the winter, they're pretty much like almost leafless because they're dormant, right? So what happens is just before spring starts is when the plant's going to be like, hey, it's getting warmer and brighter, so let me start to push out new growth. But the best time to prune it is right before that springtime happens. So I would say, well, clearly UK's temperature is different from ours, but for us here, early spring would be like early April, let's say. I know, spring technically is March 21st, but
kind of like spring right now outside a little bit.
Exactly.
Here.
Early April before the new growth starts. And that way, once you cut it back, then because the plant has lost those, branches, then the nodes that are below where you cut will start new growth. And the great thing is that once you've kind of made it more compact, then all the new growth concentrates right at the tips, and you can kind of that's a perfect time to reshape your rose bush. I'm assuming it's a bush. Yeah. So the next question about maintenance with orchids and glass vases, in glass vases. So right behind me, you can kind of see it. I have an orchid here, and would you believe that these flowers have been on here since September? They came out in September, and then there was like good 12 or so, and then every few months I noticed that new ones came out the tip and the older ones fell off, but there's still this number who are still here, and it's all thanks to the plant being right in front of the window. So it's like getting all that solar panel energy and then able to hold on to those flowers for as long as possible.
Location.
Exactly. So the same goes for whether it was planted, like mine is just planted in regular orchid bark, but if you do it in a glass vase, it's the same thing. You still have to put that like plant right in front of the window, except the easy thing with the glass vase is then you just check the water level, and once it goes to maybe, I would say, once half of the root mass is exposed in air, you should probably fill it back up. So that's the main tip for maintaining an orchid in a glass vase. And other than that, you see one yellowed leaf, or you may see sometimes the roots might rot a little faster. If you see that, just clip those off, get rid of them. You want to see your orchid roots as nice, healthy, shiny green and thick looking. If they're brown and kind of scrunchy looking, then you cut those off.
Many years ago, Darryl and I filmed a video. It's on the Melissa Maker YouTube channel, I believe. Maybe Ronit can find the link and put it in the chat in the YouTube live stream, where we go over how to take care of orchids, because there was a period of time where I was really into orchids. I want to say I had 5 or 6 plants here at the house, and you taught me how to soak them and how to take care of them and how to prune them, going back to your earlier comment. So yeah, we have talked a lot about orchids, and they are so stunning. And I feel like once you learn how to take care of them, it's kind of like unlocking a little secret, because you buy them at the grocery store, and then once they go, you feel like, oh, well, I guess that plant's done now. But actually, they can keep going.
Even better, you get them on sale from the grocery store, because
Oh,
once they start
yes.
to, droop a little bit, they go like, "Oh, 30% off. Oh, that I'm taking that."
Totally. All right. My question comes from Cheryl Bowers, and it says, do you have to replace your carpet if there's mold in it? So I would say this, you don't have to do anything. I would say it's advisable. And I'll tell you why. Mold is one of those things that is sneaky. It's very hard to get rid of. And once it's there, it's one of those things you're always going to be contending with. So as far as I'm concerned, if you can scale it back and start from ground zero, just get new carpet altogether or a new type of flooring, it'll give you the opportunity to clean the subfloor, treat it, deal with any root issues. If there's a leak somewhere, you can detect where that leak is in the floor. And the other concern I have with carpet is it really carpet's quite clingy, so it holds on to a lot of things. Odors, it can hold on to mold spores. Like it's carpets are pretty resilient. So yeah, I would say if it were me in my house, yes, I would get rid of them, but it's not like you must. It's not a decree. I hope that helps.
Nice. My next question is from J Gabrielle 19. Should you cut off plant leaves? Period. Okay, so I'm gonna say, like, I'm gonna have to make a few assumptions here that you're thinking about, a leaf starts turning yellow, and you're wondering if you should cut it off. Maybe you've heard the idea that you should cut it off in order to like conserve the energy of the plant to help the new growth, or something like that. But like physiologically in the plant, what's actually happening is that the yellowness that you see creeping into a otherwise green leaf is usually going to be the oldest leaf on the overall plant, and that yellow color is not a color of decay that's kind of coming in and rotting out the plant, but rather it's the leftover, what are called carotenoids, and those kinds of pigments in the leaf that are left over in the plant as the plant sucks back the nitrogen and stuff to make, chlorophyll has nitrogen, so the greenness of the plant is like effectively getting sucked away in order to supply the newest growth with that nitrogen. So if you're going to say to yourself, I want to do what's best for the plant, then you should actually uh, let the plant leaf turn fully yellow until you can easily just kind of pull it off. And that's what I call plant or leaf retirement, because it is kind of like it's done its duty, it's finished, it's time for it to, give back its nutrients. And then so
It
you,
gets
you
the
should
gold watch and away it goes.
exactly, you should leave it be until it falls off, or sometimes you do have to cut it off once it's fully yellowed. Now, on the other hand, if you are using your plant as a way of decor and it's in your space, and that yellowed leaf just really is like too aesthetically unpleasant to you, then you can cut it off too. I'm saying that it's not a make or break situation if you cut off a leaf every time that you see it instantly going yellow. Then if it really bothers you, you can cut it off. But I'm saying if you want to do what's best for the plant, or if you ask me, what I do is I let them fully yellow before I just pull them off. Yes.
I remember you taught me that as well. Like I would panic and I'd be like, I'm killing the plant, Darryl. What am I doing wrong? And you're like, no, no, no. This is a good thing. This is a good thing. And that was just so enlightening. All right. Here's a question from Paper and Graphite. Question is stovetop cleaner. So I guess the question is, what is the best stovetop cleaner, or what do I like to use? So for me, I'm going to make a couple of assumptions. Well, I'm wondering if I should make an assumption. I mean, generally speaking, I'm very happy with Barkeeper's Friend cream cleanser for a stovetop cleaner. I just find Barkeeper's Friend, like the product is just great. The other thing that I really like using is Dawn Power Wash. I know I talk about it a lot, but My God, that's a good product. Like, I don't know what they did, but it is good. So Dawn Power Wash I will use if it's a glass cooktop, so induction or electric. Often you can finish it up with a spray of just straight vinegar, and then you can use like a flat weave microfiber cloth, and that will give it a beautiful shine. If it's something, if it's like a gas cooktop or an electric cooktop, a cream cleanser is a better choice. I will also say that a step I think people miss is using Ceramibrite on glass cooktops. So again, electric or induction. We now have an induction cooktop, by the way. I'm obsessed. Best cooktop I've ever used. I can get into details as to why later, but I am freaking obsessed with induction. And Ceramibrite offers like a nice treatment, like a post-clean treatment that helps make the surface more resilient to stains and build up. So you kind of just apply it on and buff it off. It takes under a minute to do. You do it occasionally, and it really makes a difference. So love that. And I hope that helps. And Ronit may have some links she can put down for you in the description with some of those products. This is also a good time, Darryl, before I go on, please allow me to mention Makers Clean, as you know, is our sister company, our microfiber cleaning tools sister company. This is a Makers Clean product. And right now, I just want to let you folks know that we are having a sale over at makersclean.com where you can pick up the original Makers cleaning cloth. We've got 2 packs of cloths, 6 colors available, and we're doing kind of like a BOGO sale, but it's not BOGO necessarily. It's kind of like if you go online and you want to, buy, like 5 pairs of underwear from Victoria's Secrets or something, they give you like price breaks the more you buy. So we're calling this sale buy more, save more. You can save 15% off when you buy 2 packs, and you can save 30% off when you buy 3 or more 2 packs. You don't need a coupon code. That's just automatically applied. And by the way, anybody else who visits Makers Clean today can use the coupon code YouTube10 to save 10% off regularly priced items. Darryl, over to you.
Very nice. And I do love my Makers Clean cloths as well. So just putting it out there, they are excellent.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Darryl.
My next question here is from Janet Henry. One of my tropical plants has a brown spot mid-leaf. Should I trim the leaf back or totally off? So the thing is, the brown spot, it really matters whether it's a dark brown and kind of mushy spot versus if it's like a light brown as if dried up spot, right? So if it's the first, the dark brown spot, that might be indicative of like it could be a bacterial spot, or it could be like something like a little bit of problem in the soil that manifests itself up on the leaf. If it's dark, and definitely if it's mushy, or if it has like a ring, a little yellow right around it, and if it's mostly about the darkness of the spot, then you should cut the whole leaf right off. If it's light and just like dry and crispy, then you can just leave it off. Leave the leaf alone. It'll be fine. Yeah, it's hard to say exactly what it is without seeing what it is, but I'm trying to give you like the A or B kind of choice that would lead you to either have to cut it off immediately, or the other one would just be to leave it alone.
And then other things that folks can look out for, and you share a lot about this both in your book and on your Instagram and YouTube accounts as well. You talk about infestations.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And we have had a few unique infestations here. Haven't we? Yeah, we had to do what I call a circumcision one time, because I brought you over for the fiddle leaf fig, and you're like, we just have to get rid of this whole branch. This whole branch has a problem. And I was like really panicking because it was so pretty. And you're like, it's going to take like 1.5 years for this to grow back. It'll be fine. It's currently working its way back up there, but that was an infestation that we had. The bird of paradise, I think, had a little infestation.
Yep.
That
I remember
we had to deal with.
Spider mite. It was but it was already kind of It was very low level. It wasn't
Yeah.
like a major thing. Unfortunately, your monstera was a major
Yeah, the
thrips
monstera, we had to
infestation.
just
Yeah, that
unfortunately
yeah,
lay that one to rest. But yeah, I mean, listen, brown spots on plants can be indicative of a lot of things. And
mm,
the best way to learn about it is, I would say, like your books, because one of the cool things that you do is you use a zoom lens. So you zoom right in and you show
yeah.
exactly what the infestation looks like. So if you don't have a magnifying glass, you can even use the zoom lens on your phone and you can just zoom in and see what it
Mm.
is that you're dealing with. And then Darryl has the exact, prescription for what you need to do to fix it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, one of the things with pests in general is that the way that I do the photography is that I make sure to show it in a context that you would actually see in your house. Whereas I find that if you just Google it, you might find like really severely infested plant, or it's like an infested plant from an outdoor garden, and then it's not really quite the same, I guess, variety of thrips, because there's hundreds of different thrip species, but it's not quite the
Yes.
same ones that really go on the houseplants. So I want to make it sure that it's contextual to, you know, you have plants in your house. What pests are you most likely to see, and also to what degree of infestation are you most likely to see? And the
Yeah.
earlier you can catch it, like the smaller the, even if you can just see spot one of them, if you can already detect it, your chances of eradicating them will be much better.
Yeah. Good point. All right. Here's my question. It's from Anna Cub or Anna Coob. I hope Anna, I say your name right. How can I get the smell of scent beads off my clothing? All
Hmm.
right. So let's just talk about scent beads. Scent beads are sold as a laundry additive. So they provide absolutely no cleaning power whatsoever to the laundry process. They are strictly there to allow people to dial up or dial down or alter the scent of their clothing, because the smell of laundry smells different to different people. They enjoy different scents. And Downy Unstoppables is like the number one product in that category. Now, some people love scent beads. A lot of my friends in the cleaning space are obsessed with them. I have family members that love them. And then there are people I know, like me as well, who just have no interest in them whatsoever. The way that they work is you take a capful, you can dose as much or as little as you like to adjust the scent. And you add them into the washing machine, and then they break down and they add scent. So the question here is, how do we get rid of the scent? So I will say they are designed to have a lasting scent profile. So if you want to get rid of the scent, there are a few different things that you can do, but I want you to be aware. It's sort of like if you have like a persistent stain, you might have to work at it a little bit. You might have to wash your clothes this way a few times, Anna, before you actually get rid of the scent, but eventually you'll end up getting rid of it. So this is going to sound crazy. Um, yeah, I guess the first thing I'll recommend is baking soda. So you can add a cup of baking soda to the wash the next time you wash that clothing. Baking soda helps to counter scent and odor in laundry. So you can give that a shot and see how you go. If that doesn't work, and this is why I laughed, there is a product. It is available in Free and Gentle, which is Procter and Gamble speak for unscented in the laundry space. It's Downy Rinse and Refresh, so it's another Downy product. But the reason I love, oh, there we go, there we go. Wait a minute. The reason I love it, yeah, is because it helps to get rid of odors. So one of the things you're trying to get rid of is a scent. And Downy Rinse and Refresh can do that. It's a very powerful product. It's citric acid based. And that is essentially how it negates odors in your wash. So what it does is it comes through your system during the rinse phase of the wash cycle, and it just helps to dispel any odors. So you might need to use that product a few times to get rid of the scent. The other thing you can do, I don't know where in the world you live, but it is certainly not sunny out right now. Where I live, it's gray and rainy. But if you're in a part of the world where it's nice and sunny out, UV really helps to deodorize and kill any odor or scent whatsoever. So that could be an option too. Stick with it. Like I said, those scents are designed to linger, but eventually you will be able to get rid of it. I have all the faith.
Great. Next question for me is big time adventures. Darryl, what are your top 3 easy houseplants? So quite often we talk about plants as if they were video games with different difficulty levels, right? But I really kind of look at them more like they are, well, like they more like on a satisfaction level, like how well will this plant do in my space, which then implies that I'm already setting up my space for best possible light. Then based on, let's say, the size of my window, then I can buy the plants that I think will grow the best there, right? So what I'm saying is, the bigger your windows are, the bigger your selection of plants can possibly be. But let's say we're just going to go for average size, windows. Then, I think the most satisfying plants that you could possibly get, number one is the ZZ plant, which is your classic low light plant. But I just like the structure of a ZZ plant. It's very similar to snake plant, grows up mostly straight up, but it's got kind of leaves along the sides of the stems. And there's also a really interesting variant called the Raven ZZ plant, which is like an almost all black looking plant. It's really interesting.
I think you have that in your book, right? In the first book?
Not the Raven. The first book has the regular ZZ plant.
Okay.
Yeah, which my mom still has. So it's a great long lasting plant. The second one is definitely going to be pothos. So golden pothos, marble queen. The reason I like this plant is because it is very. It will tell you what it needs, which is that its leaves start to droop a little bit. You can feel the plant is not as perky, and that's when it's saying like, "Hey, water me now." And yet, when you do water it, it'll perk right back up, right? It's not like, actually, I noticed the question here about maidenhair fern. It's not like maidenhair fern where if you let it get to that critical dry point, it's gone. It's dead, right? So pothos is very forgiving. It'll show you when it needs water. It's very easy to water it. It's also a great plant to learn how to propagate because it's
Yes.
so easy to propagate. You could grow such long vines. You can clip them all off, put them into nice little glass vases. Then you have a little nice decor kind of display. And then after a while, it grows new roots. And then you just take those rooted cuttings and stick them back in the pot. And then you kind of keep your overall pot nice and full. So for me, I've been growing this one particular pothos that is actually like a propagation from my wedding centerpieces. So my wedding was in 2018, and the centerpieces were pothos, and a bunch of people have them, and so my mom has one too, and so I've been propagating pieces of that, and I keep a piece in my room, and so it's wonderful plant to keep long term. Last one. I'm going to go into the ferns, and so not maidenhair, but rabbit's foot fern. Now, I think, Melissa, we may have talked about this one because I think you said you're not really liking it because it kind of looks like tarantula legs.
Yeah, and ferns scare me for some reason. I feel like anytime I've seen you deal with a fern, I'm always like, too much work.
Okay,
so I'm actually surprised you chose this. I'm all ears.
But so the rabbit's foot fern in particular is unlike other ferns because it is very drought tolerant. Like you can let its soil dry, totally dry, and its leaves will still remain green. It'll just be a little floppy, but you give it a good soak and it'll grow right back. And the other thing that I in particular like, but some people may not like, is that the rhizomes, which are the kind of the roots that crawl along the soil surface, they're furry, and that's why they're called rabbit's foot fern. However, when there's a lot of them, it really looks more like like a bunch of tarantula legs, and that looks really cool, at least to me. And so that's one of the plants that I think, and I have 3 of them. 2 of them I've had for more than 5 years, and the last one was a recent propagation that was gifted to me. So yeah, it's those are my 3 kind of top plants.
That's really interesting. I'm interested / surprised that you chose a fern, but you're right. That is a really unique plant, certainly a conversation piece. And the fact that it's easy to take care of is even better. Okay, here's a question from Belle Ogilvie. Hello. Any suggestions for shower screens and troublesome soap scum? So shower screens are like the glass shower panels. We might call them glass shower doors, but I imagine Bella's from the UK or Europe where they are called shower screens. Hello. Oh, my little lady is here. All right, go see Dad. Okay. Yes. She's not aware we're on a live stream, but that's okay. Yeah. So what I would recommend is we would want to use something that can deal specifically with soap scum. So when we think about what soap scum is, it's a buildup of hard water, dried on, like soap remnants plus body oils, dead skin cell buildup. It's just a melange of gross. So we need surfactants. Surfactants help lift dirt to the surface. And then we kind of need something that's a little bit acidic that can help it melt down. So my favorite DIY combo for this, which I find to work very well, is equal parts white vinegar and dish soap. So if you're in the UK, that would be Fairy Liquid. And if you're here, that would be Dawn. Same company, same product, different name. That's just my inside knowledge. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. Equal parts, you're going to spray it on. You're going to let it sit for a little bit, and then you're going to scrub it using a non-scratch sponge, because we obviously don't want to scratch our glass surface. And you can use the S pattern, or you can use a bit of a circular pattern, because you're just kind of scrubbing to get rid of any of that buildup. You can also use a product like Universal Stone, if you've heard of that. That's a great product that would help with this. There's also another product that's available more so in Europe. It's not available here, but it's called Shedazzle, Shedazzle, Shedazzle. But I got to tell you, name aside, it works really well on that type of surface. So yeah, those would be my top tips. And I hope that you give those a try. And then what I will say as a preventative measure is to please ventilate during and after your shower. Whether it's opening a window or turning on an overhead fan, that is going to help get rid of any of the moisture that leads to that buildup. And number two, spend less than 60 seconds and just squeegee the glass after a shower. Just make it a family rule. It is imperative that we do that in our house. Otherwise, I'd be scrubbing so much soap scum off our glass shower door, and just using the squeegee saves all the time. Over to you, Darryl.
You're really making me think. Well, Shedazzle was one thing I was thinking about, but the other thing is that sort of squeegee thing, because we recently now have a glass door, and I've noticed the soap scum. I actually want to kind of skip over to a question related to soap scum, because someone asked, or the person A Sense Common asks, how do I clean plants? And one of the main things that you may find you need to clean is hard water stains that might show up on leaves, like quite often from a nursery. Yeah, you'll see, like especially ZZ plant, like the one I mentioned earlier, because its leaves are naturally so glossy that quite often you'll see that they have what looks to be like hard water stains on them. Very similar look to soap scum.
Yeah.
But thankfully not the same stuff, right? Now, you know, there are like leaf shine products out there, but they're not really the greatest, because, you know, it's been said that sometimes they can block the pores of the plant, like the stomata of the plant. And so you don't really necessarily want to use that, but you can use just your regular insecticidal soap. So there's a brand called Safer's, and they make a insecticidal soap called End All. Now, the thing is, a lot of people might be afraid that this is some kind of chemically stuff, but it's not. It's a soap, so it's a surfactant that, you know, gets rid of like hard water stains. But the reason why it works on those pests is because, well, we don't have to get into graphic details here, but, like, you know, the soap disrupts insect bodies, let's just say. Okay, so, but the great thing is it also disrupts hard water stains. So you just spray a little bit of that on your ZZ plant or whatever plant that has the hard water stains, and then just give it a wipe with a paper towel or something. And now I must say, though, this really only works with glossy or waxy leaved plants. So like ZZ plant, philodendrons, monstera is a waxy leaf plant, pothos is a waxy leaf. Not on things like ferns, not on things like pothos, or I mean, no, what's I going to say? Begonia is, oh yeah, definitely don't want to do it on begonia. So it depends on the leaf surface, really.
Didn't we also talk about Dr. Bronner's, like maybe a 10-to-1 water Dr. Bronner's solution?
Yes. Also, so that's
That,
that's what's called, is it called a non-detergent soap? Like it's a natural type of soap.
yeah,
Yeah. So that can also work if you want to. Actually, I would suggest if you want to not only clean the plant but also have a nice little scent in the air, then that would also work too. So
well, they have unscented.
they haven't sent as well. Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I said not detergent is because you don't want to use Dawn dish soap
Yes.
on a waxy plant, because the whole point of the detergent is that it disrupts surfaces that may repel water, right? So on a plant, that's a critical thing for the plant. So you don't want to use like a Dawn dish soap. You want to use either a non-detergent soap or insecticidal soap, which will be safe on the surface and also get rid of like dirt and anything that might be kind of stuck there,
Yeah.
especially like from the nursery.
Good tip. Yeah, I remember. I remember when we talked about that, and it hadn't even really occurred to me to clean plants. But then you explained it to me, like if a plant is clogged with dust or some sort of a film, then it can't properly photosynthesize, and then it can't be successful.
Hmm.
So that is where we really intersect, Darryl. That's where
Exactly.
That's where it really happens. All right. Okay. We got a question from Being There 2XS. Melissa, what detergent do you wash your cloths with? Mine get clean, but sometimes hold stains. By the way, your cloths work so well that they do exactly. Oh, by the way, your cloths work so well. They do exactly what they're supposed to do. Okay. So sometimes microfiber cloths do hold on to stains. I've had that experience too. It's annoying, but they are cleaning cloths. So, depending on what you're cleaning up, it might be a stain that is really difficult to remove. And I will say it's not the end of the world. And I will say it doesn't affect the cleaning capability or potential of the cloth. So just keep that in mind. I use the same detergent that I use for everything, which is Tide Free and Gentle, Tide Hygienic Clean Free and Gentle. It's their most powerful detergent. They came out with it around the time of COVID. It's better at getting rid of stains and odors. So it's Tide Hygienic Clean. And then I use the Free and Gentle version. So the white bottle with no scent, no dye. For me, I just don't like my cleaning cloths smelling like anything, much like I don't want my clothes to smell like anything. I also use Downy Rinse and Refresh. They also have a Free and Gentle version, which just helps, again, get rid of any of the excess residue, detergent buildup, soap buildup, because they are cleaning cloths. Like who knows what's still stuck in them, as well as odors and stains. So that Downy Rinse and Refresh is like a finishing product that I think it has completely changed the way that we can do laundry. It's a pretty amazing product. So anyway, that's the routine that I do for the cleaning cloths. And if occasionally I get a stain on them, I mean, I don't worry about it, but because I actually do use, I was going to say like our cloths aren't showing up in magazines, but like I actually do use my cloths for promotional purposes sometimes. So in our house, if that happens, then that kind of goes into the schmata pile, like the pile that we don't put on camera. And then, we have like our good ones that don't have stains on them that we use for filming. I hope that helps.
The same goes for plants.
I could just do this all day. Go ahead, Darryl.
Oh, you mean this is a thing that I can do
This
too?
is a thing. You can also do this.
Oh, but
This is if your plants need to be watered.
how come I don't see that? I don't see that
Well, I don't
happening.
know. It could be because I have an Apple laptop. Anyway, we don't have to worry about that
Oh,
right now.
Apple. Okay, yes.
Sorry.
So yeah, okay, PC. Sorry. Anyway, next question for me is from Debbie Ludwig. Hello, are maidenhair ferns worth buying? I seem to kill them all. Yes. So, as I mentioned earlier, I said if you let the maidenhair fern soil get okay, let's first talk about soil and how it holds water and how it can be, fully saturated and it can be fully dry. And think of that as like almost like a gas tank, full to empty. All right. So the thing is with a maidenhair fern, after it's fully saturated, each day it's going to use up some of that water transpiring, and it's also going to evaporate a little bit of water. So you can imagine the gas tank starts to decrease, right? As each day goes by. The problem with maidenhair fern is it is so sensitive that it's almost as if the moment it passes to 49%, the whole plant just decides, oh no, it's the dry season. I'm going to die, right? Now, the funny thing with maidenhair is even when it's all crispy and dried, it's not technically dead. It's what's called dormant. So the roots, because they know that it has this kind of very swing dry season, wet season, when it detects that the dry season is around, then it will kind of like shrivel back into its roots and wait until the next heavy rainfall before it sends out new fronds to capture light. So first of all, if you don't want to get it to that dormancy kind of state, because obviously it's very disheartening when it's all crispy, then what you got to do is you have to make sure that you lift the pot and you feel how heavy is that pot right after you fully watered it, and then each
Oh,
day lift the pot, and the moment that it starts to feel a little lighter, like noticeably lighter than when you first watered it, it's time to water again. So it's as
hmm.
if that gas tank can only cycle between 100% and like 75. You got to just keep it watered,
Maybe
right?
it needs a digital scale, like for accuracy purposes.
I did try it and do a time lapse where I had a maidenhair fern on a scale,
Huh.
and I sat it there, and then over a few days, you could see the scale would start. It was a manual scale, so the scale needle went back, and then I watered again, and it went back to full, and I watered again, and went back to full. Like, so that's the idea with how to
Hmm.
keep Maidenhair fern alive. So you have to keep it well watered. Now, people will say, "Well, isn't it dangerous to overwater and blah blah blah?" Not if your light is really good. If the
Mm.
plant is sitting right in front of a relatively large window, it could even get 2 hours of sun as long as you keep up with watering, and the plant will always look really great. The issue is most people think of watering as if it was just some sort of predefined number of days,
Yeah.
right? But if you don't actually observe the soil dryness on a maidenhair fern and wait until that empty tank, or the gas tank, once it passes that 50% mark, then it's too late. It's going to turn totally crispy. So it's all about keeping it really moist.
Darryl, I want to bring this up because this is one of the things that you told me when we first started hanging out that completely changed the way I thought about plants. I just want to share this because I feel like this is a paradigm shift. I was going to say a paradigm shift. Anyway, so here it is. I said, "Oh, okay. So like, should I put in my calendar like every Sunday water the plants?" And you're like, "No, Melissa, that's actually not how you water plants." You said you water plants based on the soil's dryness level and then understanding how moist slash dry the plant needs its soil to be to perform optimally. But the caveat is the soil becomes dry depending on where the plant is situated at a window.
Mm-hmm.
So a plant could consume, like, I know different seasons during the year, our plants consume water entirely differently. And what you told me to do was take a chopstick and stick it in about the first inch of the soil and notice if the chopstick was coming out dry or moist. And that was the indicator for me. And that's how I learned the cadence at which to water my plants. It wasn't like a prescribed thing. So I feel like for anybody who really wants to understand their plant and what it needs, understand that where you situate your plant is going to affect how quickly the plant is going to take up that water. And then you have to know how much water your plant needs to be successful. And then kind of figuring those two pieces out, which I feel like I'm overcomplicating this, but once you understand this, this is like the key to being successful with plant parenting.
It Yeah, I wouldn't say you're overcomplicating it. In fact, you are giving it the necessary complexity so that people don't feel confused. They don't look at it like a black box, like I don't understand what's happening back here. No, like this is what's happening, which is plants are consuming the sunlight, and then therefore sucking up lots of water, and they're dependent on you to replenish their moisture. And if I can expand on the point, which is that there's only 3 different strategies by which to water a plant. Maidenhair fern is this type where you have to keep it moist almost all the time. Most other tropical foliage plants, fiddle leaf, like you said, monstera,
Mhm.
anything like that, let it dry about halfway down to the gas tank. As I said, back to the gas tank analogy. And then snake plants, succulents, desert cacti, those are plants where you're waiting until the soil is bone dry before you water it again. And by only those 3, I guess, strategies, then when I tell people I have 50 plants out there, I'm not keeping track of when I last watered them because I just look at the
Yeah.
soil in order to know if it needs water or not. Now I am checking every single day, but I mean, what's the point of having plants unless you're enjoying looking at them every day, right?
And that is another point that you said to me. It's like you don't want to have more plants than what bring you joy. Like if
Mhm.
all of a sudden you're filling up your space and you have 90 plants and it's giving you anxiety, like that's not the point of having a plant. Like people that have plants, they take pride in owning and maintaining those plants. All
Mhm.
right, Darryl, we have 9 minutes left. So I'm going to try to cram in as many questions as I can. I'm just going to rapid fire. And I know we're so chatty, but we'll just rapid fire. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Mandy's mouth. Hi, Melissa. Do you have a general rule of thumb for how long it should take weekly to clean a home based on square footage? Example, I have a 2,600 square foot home. It should take 5 hours weekly to clean. So, yeah, Mandy, this is the thing. Cleaning is so subjective. What a clean space means to me is different than what a clean space means to you or Darryl or anybody. So first you have to define what you want your home to look like after the cleaning has been accomplished. And then if I were you, I would also think about what are the areas that I want to clean every single week? What do I want to include in my routine? And what can I very happily leave out of my routine? Like my office, okay? I'm not showing you the whole thing. Obviously, this is the cleanest part of my whole house. But yeah, my office, I don't clean that frequently. I vacuum the floors pretty regularly, but you think I get up there and dust those shelves once a week? You got to be kidding yourself. Like I barely dust those shelves. So yeah, just because like there's no point. Like I'm not looking up there often. I mean, it's not affecting my health and well-being if it's a little dusty up there. So I will make time for it, maybe honestly, like once a quarter. But generally speaking, I'm not spending my time doing that. I'd rather, if I'm investing time cleaning, I'm going to do it where it has its highest value because I don't like cleaning and I don't want to spend my time doing it. So what I would suggest, rather than me giving you a prescribed amount of time, and actually we do have some routine videos that we're putting up about this. Chad and I just recorded a podcast about cleaning where I go quite into detail about this very topic. So stay tuned. That's coming out soon. And also in my book back there, Clean My Space. Of course, it's called Clean My Space. There's a whole chapter dedicated to building out routines that explains my whole philosophy in greater detail. So I hope that gave you a little sample, a little taste of how to figure out how much time to spend cleaning each week.
I like that. I like that. My quick question here is from Mavis Julian. Do you think it's possible to grow basil or mint at home in the winter? So basil and mint is a more of an outdoor plant because they generally require what's called full sun. That means 6 or more hours where the sun is beating down on them. But if you grew them from seed using a very powerful grow light, you could get them to the point of enough leaf mass to use and eat. Now I'm not going to get into the calculations of DLI and those fun stuff, but I will just say if you want the simplest possible way to do this indoors and also not sponsored, just get an arrow garden, those types of things that you can plug in and it has a little kind of water reservoir. Like those have a powerful enough light to grow basil and mint right on your kitchen counter.
Yeah, people love those. Those are very successful. All right, here's one from Clarissa Ramirez. Best devices to remove pet hair from clothes and blankets. Yeah, so good old fashioned lint roller is useful. I will say there's a little hack that I want to share with you to remove pet hair from clothing and blankets. And this is what it is. You're going to get yourself dryer sheets. I'm generally not a fan of dryer sheets, but they are useful in this particular circumstance. And there is Bounce makes like a pet dryer sheet. So that's the one that you want to get. You're going to take your dirty clothes, hear me out. You're going to put them in the dryer with a dryer sheet. You're going to run it for 10 minutes. This is what I call in cleaning this sandwich method. You're going to start by removing, then you're going to do the cleaning, and then you're going to finish with removing. So you're sandwiching the cleaning between 2 removal cycles. Okay, and we do that with floors as well, or upholstery when it comes to pet hair. Then you're going to move that dirty clothing over to the washing machine. You're going to remove and dispose of that dryer sheet. You're going to add your detergent as usual. You're going to run through your cycle as usual, all products as usual. Then you're going to move it back into the dryer this time for the real drying. You're going to run through a regular dryer cycle with another fresh bounce sheet. And that sandwich method is going to help remove pet hair. It is, aside from snapping your garments, like when you take the garment, like before you put it into the machine, you're going to snap it like that. Oh, here. Snap it like that. And then you're going to do the same thing for each garment when you move it over. This is a very annoying thing to do. So, you know, if it's like you just visited your uncle's house and they have 6 dogs, like this is when you would snap. But obviously you're not going to do this 3 times a week when you're running your laundry. That's the best thing to do. So Clarissa, I hope that helps you. Okay. It's a great method. Works really well.
Okay. My next question, also related to pets, is from Libby Chapman. What plants are poisonous for cats? So, you know, these are the kind of things where, because I don't own cats, I don't really keep those plants on top of mind. But I will say, I think we talked about this before, that off the top of my head, one of the most dangerous ones that's also commonly sold is called sago palm. It looks like a little pine cone, and it's got a bunch of palmy kind of leaves that come out of the center. Sometimes you can find it at IKEA. That is a very acutely toxic plant to both cats and dogs. So just, you know, make sure you don't have that if you have pets. But other ones that I kind of know also now is like the Dieffenbachia or dumb cane. It's usually a very big plant. A lot of monsteras and, you know, philodendrons. I mean, they are mildly toxic. So I would say, if your cat were to eat the entire plant as like it's salad, then it might die. But if it takes a nibble on a few leaves here and there, it'll probably just taste bad to them, and they won't bother it again. So the other thing is, you have to know, you have to know your cat and know whether they are prone to nibbling on leaves. And if they are, then yes, that Molly is. Yes.
Yep.
So you'll have to try to keep the plants maybe higher up. Like you can, like a spider plant, for example, you can hang those up very easily, and that'll generally keep the cats out of there. But other than that, yeah, this is the kind of thing where I would say you should check the ASPCA website, and they have all the list of common houseplants, even some like less common ones that are poisonous. Yeah, so just I would say research that, and also know your own pet to see if they're prone to nibbling on plants.
Yep. All right. Well, we are almost done. But Darryl, we have lots more questions. So I'm wondering if we should do this again. We should have you back on.
I would love to do this again.
Yeah. Well, I always love chatting with you because you're fun and we're
Oh,
friends,
thanks.
and also you're super knowledgeable. And oh, look at that. Oh my God, there we are.
Oh, that when I said keep them alive for 10 years, for some reason I read in my mind, this was 10 years ago.
I know, Darryl. Wow. That was pre-COVID, I believe. Yes. Yeah, that was pre-COVID. Wow. Just let's observe for a second how much younger we looked and less stressed out. Wow.
Yeah, COVID really took a
have
toll on
a
us.
moment of silence for that. Okay. Well, you know, everyone, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We're going to be back to our regularly scheduled programming time of 12 Eastern. I don't know why I use that stupid announcer voice. I have to have like an internal dialogue with myself about that and check myself next time. But Darryl, let everyone know where they can find you, because you're just awesome, and I want everyone to follow you as well.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, you can find me at houseplantjournal.com. And then also Instagram, YouTube, it's the same handle, Houseplant Journal. And yeah, I just post, again, the journal for my houseplants, but also on my website, there's a lot more in terms of resources that people can use. So yeah, definitely check those out.
And if you want to see Darryl live in person, I'll be there. Go to his book launch party, which he's still sorting out the details of, but I told him wherever it is, I'm going to be there. So I'll see you there, Darryl, and I'll see any of you there who are going to be there as well. Meantime, you can find us over at Clean My Space, of course, right here on YouTube, but you already knew that because you're here. On Instagram, on our very pathetic TikTok account that you can help me build because I'm trying so hard. And then Makers Clean, of course, is our sister company where we sell all of our premium microfiber cleaning tools and so much more. Have a great weekend. Don't spend too much time cleaning, and we'll see you next week. Take good care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.